on Prime Crime.
Yeah, I pulled the blinds back, and there's blood all over the floor in the living room.
A relationship ends.
I'm not stalking you.
You left our kids to come here in the middle of the night. I saw your car.
And a dangerous game begins.
You have a missing man, a man who has disappeared, who hasn't been in contact with his family, just dropped off the face of the earth.
They called him Houdini because he made a body disappear.
Hey there, everybody, I'm Jesse Weber, and welcome to Prime Crime, where we break down some of the most compelling and memorable true crime cases from across the country. When it seems a loving dad of two has been murdered, his family wants answers. But as police struggle to find his remains, could this be a case of no body, no crime, no justice?
Can I 911 with the address for emergency?
15th Street. I was doing a wellness check on a good friend of mine that I was dating, and I found it weird because I haven't talked to him for like 24 hours. And I just went to his house. You know, I kept calling his name and knocking on the windows and knocking on the doors, and the screen door is like wide open.
And what's his name?
Rosalio Gutierrez. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I'm kind of freaking out.
May 19th, 2020, Kenosha, Wisconsin. Sadie Beecham, the concerned girlfriend of Rosalio Gutierrez, goes to his apartment to check on him, but she finds a terrifying scene.
I'm afraid. I just saw blood on the floor, and that's not normal. Something's not right.
There's nobody else there that you could see?
No, both of his vehicles are here. His phone's been going straight to voicemail since maybe 11 o'clock last night. Should I go in? Do I not go in?
Go check? That's up to you, but if you don't feel safe going in, I don't suggest doing that.
Detective Anschutz and I were two of the primary detectives that had responded at that time.
When we entered the apartment door, we saw some blood in the hallway area and also on the door. Entered the apartment, saw a significant amount of blood on the walls, ceiling, floor. It was on the couch, kitchen table, pretty much everywhere. It was a real gruesome finding.
They were able to determine that that blood was that of Rosalio Gutierrez.
Furniture is moved around, and there also appeared to be a large blood stain on the floor where police said it appeared that someone had been there in that place bleeding for an extended period of time.
It didn't appear as though the entry was forced by any means. The patio door was ajar, opened with the screen closed.
Once we entered the main living room area, where the blood had been on the floor, there were distinctive lines showing that there may have been a rug at that location at some point. That was later confirmed by Sadie Beecham that there was in fact a small area rug that usually was at that location.
Why is the rug missing? Was it used in some nefarious way? Carpets are often used to wrap up bodies and carry bodies for disposing or hiding them.
One of our initial working theories was that Rosalio had answered that door. Rosalio had immediately been met with some blunt force trauma, which created a startled response to him, which then led back into his apartment itself.
At this point, investigators need to speak with Sadie Beecham. She may have some answers about what may have happened.
I initially went and spoke with Sadie. She was frantic, shaking, crying, super emotional, and almost panicked. And I had asked her what happened. She had immediately stated that she doesn't know where Rosalio is, can't get a hold of him.
Something's weird is happening. Something's bad, something doesn't feel right.
Sadie Beecham was the girlfriend of Rosalio Gutierrez at the time he disappeared. Prior to their relationship, she had been in a long-term relationship with Zachariah Anderson. The two had 3 children together. They had a daughter, Olivia, and 2 younger twins.
Zachariah and Sadie, by all accounts, they had an on and off again relationship for a number of years, but by 2019, Sadie said that she had just had enough. She wanted to still have the relationship with him because of the children that they shared and be amicable about it, be adults about it, but ultimately she said that she cut it off.
I've confirmed that you've taken an interest in other guys, and I've painfully enough, I've already done.
It didn't sound like Zach was ready to end this relationship. Kept holding on.
And the guy that stole the mother of my child.
Anybody, he didn't steal anything.
Yeah, all right.
And I wasn't yours to steal.
Sadie had come to the police department shortly after leaving the apartment. Sadie provided a lot of information regarding some concerning behaviors on the part of Zachariah towards the end of their relationship.
He came over to the house and there was an argument. He began throwing things out of my house. I had to call the cops to have them come and ask him to leave. So that was kind of a violent episode. That was not the first time. I tried to file a restraining order. I was afraid. I said, but I just want you to know, like, I'm done, with the relationship.
Once she had broken up with Zachariah Anderson, she began a relationship with Rosalia Gutierrez. Rosalia Gutierrez was a family man. He was the father of 2 children. He was described as the person who loved to dance, loved the Chicago Cubs, loved coaching his kids' teams. Zachariah Anderson became almost obsessed, began stalking both Rosalia as well as Sadie Beecham.
There is evidence that you were stalking me.
I'm not stalking you.
Here, in the middle of the you left our kids to come here in the middle of the night. I saw your car.
As detectives learn more of the backstory, they desperately search for any sign of Rosalio.
We also conducted a canvass of the other tenants within that apartment. We did a canvass with the neighborhood itself to determine if there were surveillance videos. Unfortunately, we're not able to obtain any surveillance videos from the apartment complex itself because they do not have them. We also conducted a check of the local hospitals as well as hospitals in the adjacent counties, and that turned up negative results for us. We had learned that the dumpsters that are associated with the apartment complex, they were recently picked up, so we had officers respond to that landfill area to meet with the landfill personnel. That was quickly cleared out as well.
There were a lot of searches that were done in and around Kenosha and other areas in southeastern Wisconsin looking for him.
We had spoken to one of Rosalio's friends who had arrived, and he had indicated to us that he was concerned for Rosalio because Rosalio was supposed to show up at work, he wasn't answering his phone, and things of that nature. He had indicated that as far as he was aware, there was nobody that wanted to harm Rosalio. He did mention that Rosalio had told him that a girl he was seeing's ex-boyfriend had threatened him. So that was the second time now independently that Zachariah Anderson's name had been brought up.
During her interview, Sadie Beecham tells detectives there's someone else they should speak to, her teenage daughter, Olivia.
Sadie had mentioned that her oldest daughter had some information pertaining to all this. She stated she would bring her oldest daughter down here to help.
I'm gonna grab Olivia if it's cool with you and sit down and have a conversation, okay?
I mean, there's stuff that I know that you guys don't.
Whatever you need to.
I'm not trying to have Olivia in trouble.
I think you just be as honest as you can.
Zachariah Anderson became almost obsessed. He had gone to the home of his ex-girlfriend with his own 12-year-old daughter to spy on them.
Dad had brought me that night and left the boys at the house.
Are you serious?
Holy
Are you serious?
No.
Oh my God. You can't tell me stuff like that. Oh my God.
In fact, at one point, she describes how her father told her to cover her mouth with a blouse so that those inside would not see her breathing. She described how he put a phone in the air conditioning vent in order to listen and to be able to hear more.
Olivia had also shared something else with her mom that Sadie now tells police.
And she's like, well, you know, you should probably tell your friend to do something because Dad took his registration out of his truck. I'm like, he still has it? She's like, yeah, and he's not planning on giving it back. I'm like, well, what's he gonna do with it? And she's like, I don't know, he said he was gonna maybe have him followed for fun or something like that.
It was alarming that Olivia knew everything that was going on and was actually acting as a pawn for Zachariah to spy on her mother, essentially.
Your dad is unpredictable, and I don't know. You know that. I have no idea what he's capable of. I'm so scared.
I know you are. You've been scared for about 3 months, right?
She's freaked out for her own safety at this point. She was adamant that he was involved in this, and she feared that something may happen to her, the kids next.
So, we have more than enough to charge stalking, okay? And I think we should proceed with that. Reason being, obviously this isn't gonna get any better. So we just have to make sure you're on board with it before we go about it.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely want that.
Based on the information that we had received from Olivia and Sadie that day, we knew we had enough to arrest Zachariah for stalking behavior. So although he is a person of interest on the possible missing person of Rosalio, we know he's our suspect in this stalking case. After Zachariah was arrested on the evening of May 19th, they bring him back here to Kenosha where we conduct an interview.
Currently you are in custody. As you're aware, we're conducting an investigation prior to that, all right? Okay. So we're investigating a case of stalking involving your children's mother, Sadie.
Sure.
Can you kind of tell me what's going on, what's up with your guys' relationship, what's been happening, going on?
She's had a list of accusations about me stalking her and otherwise, and I have gone to check some information on her.
Up next, investigators press Anderson for details about his alleged stalking and about Rosalio's disappearance.
Everything that goes wrong in the world is not my fault. Sure. I'm sorry, it's just not. Look, there were a couple occasions when I went to verify it, but making it this thing like I'm stalking her, I'm tracking her, or I hacked her cell phone or whatever, take a like I didn't, okay? I mean, I hear what you're saying, but it's bull. It's bull.
The same day Sadie Beecham reported her boyfriend, Rosalio Gutierrez, missing, detectives arrest and interrogate her ex, Zachariah Anderson, on stalking charges. Based on their interview with Sadie and Zachariah's daughter, Olivia, detectives ask him some pointed questions.
You accidentally dropped your cell phone in her car, underneath the car seat.
But I didn't track her on the cell phone. I dropped the cell phone.
During our time with Zachariah, which lasted approximately an hour, Zachariah appeared to be a person who provided an excuse for every question that we had.
I went to pull the boys out of the car seats or whatever and give them a hug. When I leaned forward, I dropped the phone in her car.
And then when we would confront him about the information that was provided to us by Olivia or Sadie, he would then come up with a different excuse.
I'm not hacking her cell phone. I'm not hacking her email. I'm not hacking her. I'm not stalking her. There's some things that I check. I would love to catch her, getting high with her boyfriend just so I could say to the court, I deserve custody of my kids because this is how she spends 3 days a week.
A lot of his behaviors he would blame on just trying to gather evidence for the court when he tried to get custody. But the behaviors were so bizarre in nature that they went beyond trying to gather evidence.
What about his registration card for his truck?
I don't know what the he did with his registration or what the stories are, or Zach must have done it. Zach does everything. I have no idea, man.
When we talked to him about having a picture of the car title belonging to Rosalio, he said that he had been confronted about that numerous times and it's a lie. They're just trying to make him look bad. And Olivia independently had corroborated going with her father in April 24th to Sadie's residence and him wanting her to come see what her mom is doing.
Did you look through the windows of the house and see someone in there?
Yeah, the windows were open. I could look through the windows and see. There's no blinds covering the back door.
Did you take pictures?
No.
You take video?
No.
You take audio recording?
No.
Nothing.
No, so you had the same bullshit accusations.
Did you place any cell phones anywhere?
No.
I mean, this is something she told me, and man, this is something that a 13-year-old girl is not going to come up with on her own to get her dad in trouble.
I didn't place any cell phones anywhere.
It was horrible what he was doing, especially bringing in Olivia. The information she was giving us was so in detail and so in depth that how could anyone make up this story?
Dude, give me a lawyer.
So what we can't talk about anymore, you have requested an attorney, so that's what's gonna happen tonight. Just wanna make you aware of that.
This is bananas, you guys.
All right.
For stalking, get the out of here.
Yep, that's the charge.
All right, then, come on this way.
We're gonna walk right over to this room over here.
We have time on our side with Zachariah being in custody. Now it's a matter of how do we know that Zachariah was actually involved? We still needed to show that a homicide had occurred and that Rosalía wasn't simply missing. And a warrant is conducted at Zachariah's residence in Mequon, Wisconsin that night. When officers respond, they quickly note that there's a larger fire pit that is in the backyard that is still smoldering. And why that was alarming to them was because that area had received approximately 6 inches of rain over the course of 4 days, which we knew that fire must have been very hot in order for it to continue to smolder.
Investigators then spoke to a friend of Anderson's who said that he was at Anderson's home when he was keeping that burn pit going, even through heavy rains. And the friend said that Anderson had started that burn pit on May 18th, just one day before Sadie Beecham went down to Kenosha and found what she saw inside Rosalía Gutierrez's apartment.
Because it's getting dark, officers halt their outdoor search until the following day and focus their efforts inside Anderson's house, where they make quite a discovery.
Officers had located approximately $47,000 in cash, as well as a large quantity of marijuana. They also located numerous electronics in the residence. There was also a minivan that belonged to Zachariah, which was located on the property.
Police confiscate the cash, drugs, and minivan for analysis, then return the next day to search the burn pit.
On May 20th, when we returned during the daylight hours, we were able to determine that the burn pit, which was still smoldering, had apparent clothing inside of it. There was a bleach container that was thrown in there that wasn't completely burned up, so we could still see the label of that as well.
But it's the minivan that may provide more clues as to what happened to Rosalía.
That minivan, when they did an initial search of it, immediately upon opening the door, they were able to smell an odor of bleach. They also noticed that there were stains on the floor, which was consistent with bleach staining, and there was about a third of the carpet in the back of the minivan was torn out. On the front passenger side dashboard of the minivan was a Walmart receipt. We were able to determine that on the morning of May 18th at approximately 6:30 in the morning, Zachariah had gone to a Walmart.
Anderson walks into the store and buys some things with cash. He buys 2 boxes of garbage bags, some latex gloves, as well as 2 bottles of bleach. Why would you be going to Walmart? Why would you be then having a burn pit? He was trying to destroy the evidence. He was trying to destroy evidence of a crime.
But one big question remains. Where is Rosalía?
They've looked at Rosalía's home, and now they've gone to Zachariah's home. And typically, they would then try to find out, well, what other property or area does Zachariah have access to or frequent? And this area comes up, the family's tree farm.
Investigators went to Zachariah Anderson's family's farm. There was a massive search that was going on at that property, looking for either Rosalía Gutierrez himself, his remains, or any evidence that they might be able to tie to Zachariah Anderson in connection to their missing persons or what they had presumed was a death investigation and a homicide investigation.
When we responded to the tree farm, there were, I believe, a total of around 11 different law enforcement agencies that had responded to assist with that.
We had ground penetrating radar, we had anthropologists, federal agencies, local agencies. It was something on the scale I've never seen before in law enforcement.
The local agency provided with drone surveillance, so we were able to kind of map out the areas and how we were going to search it and how we were going to break it up and so forth. We had 3 cadaver dogs who assisted at that time. All 3 of the cadaver dogs had shown indicators on a large burn pit.
Cadaver dogs can be very helpful, but they're not always specific. And so in this case, they alerted on another animal, a non-human remains, and didn't provide the answer that investigators were hoping for, which is to find Rosalio's body. More value would have been if Rosalio's blood was detected on anything that was left in the fire pit, but you know, fire does destroy DNA.
They also searched a number of places where they know that Zachariah Anderson's phone had been around that time.
He had a friend that he was actually working on a house with this friend up in the Belgium area near this park. This park consisted of a lot of wooded acreage and a large pond, a big deep pond that I believe used to be a quarry. And they scoured that lake and were unable to find anything. We did everything in our power to try to find him in that area, and just came up empty.
But it seems Rosalio Gutierrez may have left behind a clue after all in the minivan police recovered from Anderson's property.
During the processing by the Wisconsin State Crime Lab, they located a small speck of what they believed to be blood in the rear passenger side quarter panel area of the minivan.
Coming up, this development may seem promising, but it's a long shot.
It was very small. The technician was concerned if they were to test it for being positive as blood, it might ruin whatever sample they had. So ultimately that technician decided to collect it and run it for DNA.
By the way, as you can see from the content that we cover here on Prime Crime, it just shows you that the world is not a safe place. But one of the things that we try to do is partner with companies that can help to protect you, and that includes Home Title Lock. Because I didn't know this, but apparently home title fraud is just rampant. Yeah, I met with the people over at Home Title Lock. Completely freaked me out. So this is an example of a fraudulent quitclaim deed. It got filled out with my information, a forged signature, fake notary seal. So not only could my property just get transferred behind my back, but the scammers, they go after the equity. They take out loans using your home as collateral. They do all this, they disappear, they leave you with a legal and financial nightmare. But that is where Home Title Lock comes in to give you peace of mind, especially with their triple lock protection. Why? Because that gets you 24/7 monitoring, alerts of any changes, restoration services at no out-of-pocket cost to you. So to protect your home, go to HometitleLock.com/primecrime. Use our promo code PrimeCrime. You'll get a 30-day free trial of their triple lock protection and a free title history report to make sure you aren't already a victim.
The first thing they needed to prove was that he was actually dead. The second thing they had to prove is that he was dead as a result of an intentional act on the part of Zachariah Anderson.
Detectives investigating the possible murder of Rosalio Gutierrez by his girlfriend's jealous ex finally get a break in the case when the forensics lab completes its DNA analysis of the mysterious spot in Zachariah Anderson's minivan.
It took 8 days for them to process the vehicle and then get a positive hit on the DNA.
Ultimately, that DNA matched for Rosalio Gutierrez.
That was very much a turning point in the case, especially after our speaking with Zachariah and his own admittance that he's never met Rosalio.
How does a missing man's blood end up in the back of a van that is owned by the prime suspect in the case?
Now the police are investigating what they think is a murder. Even though Rosalio's body is gone, he's still trying to tell us what happened through the blood at the scene, through the drop of blood that's in the minivan, and he's still providing that information back to his family and friends of violence that happened to him.
And the evidence against Zachariah Anderson keeps piling up.
We went through the laptop. What we found on there were a couple items that we found pretty important to this investigation.
There was a file that was dedicated to Rosalía Gutierrez, his Facebook pages, his social media, indicating that Zachariah Anderson was clearly obsessed with Rosalía Gutierrez and his ex-girlfriend at the time Rosalía Gutierrez disappeared.
We found 25 or so photos of Rosalía. These pictures included him and his kids, him alone, him and his friends. There was information pertaining to Rosalía's LLC that he had for construction business.
It's one more piece of evidence that physically connected Zachariah to Rosalía. It adds to the other forensic evidence already in existence.
When we first were able to speak with Rosalía's mother, she had access to his banking account information and other accounts, but from the 17th of May, there had been no transactions conducted. We were able to determine that over the course of the next 6 or 7 months, he had not reached out to his children. He had not reached out to his mom. He had not used any credit cards. He had not used any financial banking cards.
You have a missing man, a man who has disappeared, who hasn't been in contact with his family. He hasn't used his cell phone, his credit cards, and some of the actions Anderson took around the time of Rosalía Gutierrez's disappearance track with someone trying to hide evidence of something.
All of that together and us reviewing our findings with the district attorney's office, at that point, the district attorney's office felt that they had enough information to criminally charge Zachariah with the homicide of Rosalía Gutierrez.
Zachariah Anderson was charged with several counts, the top count being first-degree murder. He was also charged with 2 counts of stalking, one against Sadie Beecham, one against Rosalía Gutierrez. And the last charge was the hiding of a corpse.
However, due in part to the COVID-19 pandemic, Zachariah Anderson's trial is delayed by almost 3 years, giving lawyers plenty of time to strategize.
It is difficult for the prosecution walking into a no-body homicide. And why is that? Because when you don't have the body, questions are going to arise whether or not the person walked away themselves, whether or not they committed suicide. You don't have an autopsy. And when you don't have an autopsy, you can't definitively say how an individual died. But there was a strong circumstantial evidence case against Zachariah Anderson at the time he went to trial. So the defense's strategy was to say that there was limited DNA evidence. There was no direct evidence that Zachariah Anderson had committed these horrific violent crimes. And saying, well, there's no body, there's no crime.
On February 28, 2023, in Kenosha County Circuit Court, Zachariah Anderson's trial begins.
There are 2 separate but combined sets of facts that allow you to know that there is proof beyond a reasonable doubt that Rosalía Gutierrez was murdered on May 17th, 2020 at around 10 p.m., just around 10 p.m. at his own apartment. And I say that because there are 2 things that happen. One, there is a bloody, bloody scene, but also there are the circumstances of Rosalía Gutierrez's absence from the life of everyone he cared about and who cares about him. So combined with that bloody scene, you as a jury know he was murdered. And you will find this defendant responsible, and you will hold him responsible despite this plan that he tried everything he could to avoid responsibility.
It's not that you have to show 100%, you just have to show beyond a reasonable doubt that Rosalía has been murdered and that he has been murdered by Zachariah.
The essence of this case is actually quite simple. At the end of the day, law enforcement nor the state have no idea what happened to Mr. Gutierrez's body. They don't know when exactly anything happened in Mr. Gutierrez's apartment. They have no idea where any alleged remains of Mr. Gutierrez's body is. They have absolutely no witnesses that say, hey, we saw Mr. Anderson and he had bloody clothes or he was acting suspicious. They have none of that because none of that evidence exists.
No one sees the actual crime taking place. And so you really have to trust a jury to rely on that circumstantial evidence to understand how to piece those pieces together.
No human remains, no murder weapon, no evidence of a crime scene cleanup. Mr. Anderson, as he sits in front of you today, is presumed innocent, and he must stay that way because the evidence will not establish that Mr. Anderson committed the alleged crimes beyond a reasonable doubt.
Up next, emotions run high as testimony begins.
Mrs. Patterson, do you know someone by the name of Rosalio Gutierrez Jr.?
He was my only child.
Mrs. Patterson, is that one of the last text pictures that your son sent you on May 16th of 2020?
It is.
And after that conversation where that picture was sent to you, have you heard from your son ever again?
My boy hasn't reached out to me. My boy is gone.
Hey guys, I hope you know how much we really appreciate you following this story with us. We want you to remember these victims, explain the justice system to you, explain how investigations work. And one of the reasons that we're able to bring you these kinds of stories is because of the incredible support that we get from our sponsors, like our proud partner, Morgan & Morgan. Look, if you should get injured, America's largest injury law firm, they may be who you want in your corner. They have an army of over 1,000 attorneys. They have an amazing track record, like recent verdicts of $12 million in Florida and $26 million in Philadelphia. These, by the way, are higher than the highest insurance offers in these cases. There's no upfront fee. The whole process can be done right from your smartphone. It is so simple. So if you're injured, you can easily start a claim at forthepeople.com/primecrime.
Back in the time period of April 24th of 2020, were you asked by anyone to spy on anybody else?
Yes.
Who asked you to spy on someone?
My dad.
And who did your dad ask you to spy on?
My mom.
In Zachariah Anderson's trial for the murder of his ex's new boyfriend, Rosalio Gutierrez, there's no shortage of shocking revelations. But among the most moving is when Anderson's teenage daughter, Olivia, takes the stand. She's not shown because she's a minor.
At 14 years old, she now has to testify in front of her own father, an individual that she doesn't even necessarily call dad anymore on the stand, to explain to the jury what her role was in terms of eventually her father's acts in committing this brutal homicide.
We went to the window and he looks at me and he says, before you do anything, go like this with your shirt to make sure that you don't get the breath marks on the window.
So I'd just like to have the record reflect that the witness, Your Honor, pulled their shirt up, blocking their ability to sort of breathe on objects, covering their nose and mouth. After you were advised of that by the defendant, what's the next thing that happened?
I saw him sitting on the couch with my mother coming out of the bathroom.
I don't know how any juror cannot feel compassion for this 14-year-old girl. There's one point during her testimony where she breaks down and she says, I didn't realize how hard this would be.
Wow. I didn't think that it was going to be this hard. They were listening to music and laying there together.
But something happens during Olivia's testimony that has everyone talking.
So where do you guys go next?
Back to my dad's house.
Okay. When you get back, what happens next?
I walk in. He tells me to get some sleep. I then was sitting downstairs and thinking about what just happened because I was a little like, did I really just see what I saw, what I just witnessed?
Olivia is on the stand, and her father appears to gesture with his hands as though he's telling her to keep quiet. And to be frank, when you look at it, it's quite obvious that that's what he's doing. So the jury saw it, they are not going to like it. They do not want to see a defendant who manipulated, by the way, his daughter when she was 12 years old, trying to do it again when she's testifying against him.
Meanwhile, the defense brings the judge's attention to Olivia's mom, Sadie Beecham, who's in the gallery and also may be communicating with her daughter while she's on the stand.
So just the real obvious question, were you signing her instructions about what to say or anything else?
There was a moment where she got a little sassy up here, and my initial mom response was to go, shh, 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 shh. So if I did that, that would have been the only thing that I can recall I did.
The mother did have a response at some point when her daughter was testifying. I distinguish that from that of Zachariah Anderson. I think Zachariah Anderson appeared more intentional with a desire to have his daughter keep her mouth shut, whereas I think the actions of Sadie Beecham was more the natural reaction of a mother when her daughter's acting up to try to just kind of without thinking say shh, 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 almost that noise that we all do when our kids are acting up.
I have been watching both the defendant and the child's mother, and believe me, nothing that would be, in my opinion, an effort to influence the child in any way or make this more difficult will be tolerated, and it will be addressed rapidly.
Under the judge's watchful eye, the trial proceeds with Sadie Beecham's testimony, and she faces some tough questioning by the defense.
Do you remember receiving a message from Mr. Gutierrez on March 3rd, 2020? And this is based on a conversation that you must have had with him about issues you had with Mr. Anderson.
I explained to him that I was very afraid that he was tracking me and that he was also trying to take the kids.
Then Mr. Gutierrez responded to you that same day, 7:30 a.m. Babe, I can stake out by your house tonight like a detective, LOL. And then he said, or option B is ... well, I do know people.
Okay.
You received that message from him?
Yeah.
And then you responded back on March 5th, 2020, oh, I've definitely thought about a plan B, LOL. On March 5th, 2020, you're already having conversations with Mr. Gutierrez about how you need to plan something against Mr. Anderson, correct?
No.
That's not what we just read.
No.
You weren't talking about a plan A or a plan B.
I was not talking about a plan, anything.
In a sense, they're threatening messages. I'm not sure that they amounted to actual threats.
You had given Mr. Gutierrez some information about where Mr. Anderson lived, correct?
I may have.
And this was after the one below you said, well, I guess if he has your info, you should have his. And he says he can have all my info. I want him to know exactly who beat his ass up, correct? Then he says there needs to be consequences for his actions, correct?
Correct.
If you accept those texts to be true, then it indicates that there was some type of altercation between Zachariah Anderson and the victim. There was no evidence that Rosalia Gutierrez went to the home of the defendant. There was no evidence that he ever confronted him in any way. In fact, the evidence was quite the contrary. The evidence was that everything happened at Rosalia Gutierrez's home. And that is not an indication of Rosalia looking for a fight. Then the next step was, well, how do we prove that Zachariah Anderson killed him and he did so intentionally?
To address that point, the prosecution puts Marquand Washington on the stand, a cellmate of Anderson's.
What did the defendant tell you about how he committed the case that he's charged with and what the circumstances were?
He said that he had seen this person and he said he stabbed him and he blacked out, and he said he eventually wrapped the body up in garbage bags and got rid of the trash. He threw the trash out. Okay. And I asked him, what did he mean by that? And he said, I said, what, like dumpster or trash? And he said, once it's gone, it's gone.
As prosecutors were trying to put this story together of what happened, they said that this is clear evidence of him trying to hide the evidence of the homicide of Rosalio Gutierrez and hiding a corpse.
Were you aware of the nickname that some people had given the defendant?
Yes, a lot of times people would say Houdini.
And did the defendant talk about why people were calling him Houdini and describe, what that was about to you?
Yes, he said they called him Houdini basically because he made a body disappear, they say, and everybody called him Houdini because of it.
After about 4 weeks, the trial wraps up.
This is a highly planned, thought out, and executed crime of murder. And so I want you to think about who there is in this case who has shown a propensity, right? Who has shown day after day in the conduct that we have outlined patterns of that sort of planning, that sort of obsessive conduct. And you will find this defendant responsible, and you will hold him responsible despite this plan, that he tried everything he could to avoid responsibility.
Nobody knows where Rosalio Gutierrez is. Nobody knows what happened to Rosalio Gutierrez. It's also interesting to note that a killer would have to be the luckiest person on the planet to be able to do this crime and not leave any DNA behind at the scene. That is impossible. This entire case is built on possibilities and a series of what-if questions. And it's an assembly of guesswork. The tragedy is that the real killer has not been caught, if in fact Rosalio is dead. Zachariah Anderson is not guilty.
But in the end, the jury does find Zachariah Anderson guilty on all 4 counts. Before Anderson is sentenced, Rosalio's loved ones come forward to remember him, celebrating his life by wearing the colors of his beloved Chicago Cubs.
My only son, taken so savagely, with so much rage and hatred. Mr. Anderson did not know my son. My son had children who loved him, who had been with their dad on the days leading to his final days. Mr. Anderson did not care. Mr. Anderson hid his heinous actions by removing and disposing my son's corpse, now allowing me a son to grieve over, nor a grave to visit. For all these reasons, and so many more, I humbly request Your Honor to sentence Mr. Anderson to the maximum sentence of life in prison without the possibility of parole.
I think the one thing that always stands out in my mind with these no-body homicide cases is that even with a conviction, the parents, the mother, the loved ones are still left with this gnawing feeling for the rest of their lives, like, where is my loved one? Please just let me bury my loved one.
Olivia Anderson speaks out too about her own loss.
This is meant for Dad. It breaks my heart to this day knowing things will never be the same. Little did I know, I was already trapped. Trapped in a mindset I couldn't free myself from. To this day I wonder, did he ever love me? Or was I just a pawn, a toy, or his little golden retriever? You took me for granted and you will never get the same respect back.
All right, Mr. Anderson, is there anything you wish to say before sentence is pronounced?
I don't think we really got to the heart of the matter. What I can tell you is, I didn't kill anybody. What I can tell you is, I didn't stalk anybody. And what I can tell you is, I didn't dispose of any corpse. It's really weird to be sentenced for, or convicted for it, and soon to be sentenced for it. But I didn't, Judge. I don't really know what this is, but I didn't do it. I'm innocent, Judge. Not guilty. I'm innocent.
His statement at sentencing was very typical of Zachariah Anderson. It was very comparable to our interview with him. He had a reasoning for things, and there was always a reason for it. It was very typical of who he was.
It is the sentence of the court that your custody be committed to the Department of Corrections for confinement in the Wisconsin State Prisons for the remainder of your life.
Throughout my career, at least I'll say, there's been a lot of investigations that I've worked, crimes that I lose sleep on. However, this one I still think about a lot and replay everything we've done up until this point.
We still want to find out where Rosalio may be or where he is so that we can provide the family with that peace of mind, that, place that they can go to see their loved one.
A devoted son and loving father is gone, all because of a jealous obsession that had no basis in fact. But maybe the most tragic thing of all is that without a body to lay to rest, Rosalio's family is denied closure and the opportunity to heal. That's all we have for you here on this episode of Prime Crime. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. I'm Jesse Weber, and as always, stay safe.